Hello everybody and welcome to part 2 of the Tearing Revamp announcement video. Yes, it's been a bit of a long break between the first part and the second part, but we finally got there. I am not Florian Volker, I'm a bit too English to sound like Florian Volker, but this guy is. Hello, say hello Florian.
Hey guys.
Yes, indeed, and we're here for an important reason. We are here for the second part of the Tearing Revamp. Now, if you haven't watched the first part, I strongly recommend that you do. That one was done by Yuri, and he went through, well, pretty much the OC as a whole, some of the changes that happened in the OC as a whole, but mainly it was to do with the top class, Formula E, and the new World Champ Car series. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen part 1, because they are, of course, his series. He didn't mention anything about GP2 and DTM because he left it for Flo to do, and that's what we're here to do. Now, the reason why you're hearing my voice is quite simple, really. I offered to help out with sorting everything out in terms of presentation and stuff because, as you may have noticed, because if you may remember last year, in the early part of 2021, you may remember I had to use PowerPoint presentations for the OC News. That was when my Macintosh decided to break, and a lot of people seem to like that for some reason. I don't know why. So I've decided, you know what, let's do it for this. Now, what we're talking about mainly is, of course, GP2 and DTM, because, of course, they are Flow series. So if you want anything to do with the top class, Formula E, and the new World Champ Car series, go watch over part 1. But this is going to be for GP2 and DTM, and there's a lot to get through on this one. So, shall we get going then, Flo?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay then, let's go through the first slide. So what we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the major changes that are coming for GP2, because there is a lot, and some upcoming changes for DTM. Now, DTM, there's not going to be much talked about in this one, for reasons that you'll find out later on, but the main bulk of this presentation is going to be mainly about GP2, because, well, there's a whole draft of changes coming for that one that I'm sure a lot of you guys are looking forward to. So let's start off with GP2 then, shall we? Or should I call it GP2? Because, well, Flo, after many seasons of people wondering, we're finally changing the name.
Yes, GP2 will now be known as the F2OC because we have a new car shape and because of the fantasy area launching. And that means that we can get rid of the 2011 car shapes after 10 years. And that means that the series will now be known as the F2OC. I think many of you expected this change to happen like 5 years ago already, but now here we are.
I even put that on the presentation. 5 seasons overdue. Yes, but finally, we've got the F2 name in the series. So, goodbye the GP2 name. That will be retired after this season. And in its place, the GP4 F2 Offline Championship. So, as Flo just mentioned there, really, the reason why we're having the name change is because we've got a brand new car. As you can see on your screen right now, this is the car that we're going to be using from the 2021 season, or the first season of the Fantasy era. It's branded as the SMD ZG02LN car. It's a bit of a tongue twister, that name is, personally. But that is the car we're going to be using for 2021. So at the end of this season, the current GP2 car, which has been in use since the 2011 season, and you could say 3 seasons overdue, is finally going to be retired after this season. Now, a lot of people may have noticed here, Flo, that this is not the current Formula 2 car. Why is that?
Well, that's basically the reason because we don't have any current GP2 car or F2 car model in GP4 that exists. So we decided to use this livery and car shape to make it work with the current standards of the F2OC.
Yes, indeed. Now, it does look similar to a Formula 2 car, but it isn't. There are obviously notable differences to it. One, of course, the notable one, there's no halo with this car. It's just a complete open wheeler. There isn't a shark fin on it either, and I do believe that the rear wing is slightly slimmer than what the current Formula 2 car is as well. So there are a few changes, but apart from that, the main bulk of it does look similar. Now, of course, some of you may recognise this car, of course, if you're part of Grand Prix Games, and I'm mainly looking at Enes Perachki if he's watching this video, because this is one of the cars that gets used in the GP GSL series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, exactly. This car is getting used in the Grand Prix games server as well for their series, since it's really easy to edit and it has a lot of possibilities to have a lot of sponsors on the car. So it will be really nice to see.
Yes, indeed. I think I do remember. In fact, there was actually a YouTube video of somebody demonstrating how to paint with this car, so it is possible indeed. And I do think there is actually another series out there on YouTube that uses this car as well. So it does get used outside of GPGSL as well. Now, I've also put on here on this slide as well potentially new engine sounds. Now, it's not 100% guaranteed, but I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Flo, because I think you did mention this to me on Discord, you're apparently working on some new engine sounds for this car.
Yeah, I really need to find some good footage of F2 cars racing at some track which has a lot of speed, for example, Monza or Baku. And then I can put the engine sound together and extract them into a file and import them to GP4, and I will see how it looks and sounds like. And if it's good, I will use it, and if it's not, I will find another solution.
Indeed.
But you will get updated on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for those of you who don't know, of course, the DTM sounds, that was actually made by Flo as well. And I do believe it's actually being used in a current mod, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I've also put on there as well, liveries will be revealed at a later date. Well, what I mean by later date, I might as well mention it, in fact, because this is a sort of announcement video. They're going to be revealed in the final team news of the season. So when the drivers get announced, you're also going to be seeing the new liveries, which is going to be very exciting. I have seen pictures of these new liveries. They do look absolutely amazing. So you can thank Evan for that one, because he created all of them. So that's that then. So a new car for F2. Now the next slide, if it lets me, there you go. There we go. I thought for a minute there something died on my keyboard, but clearly not. But we've got for next season some adjusted performance stats system. Because I believe in the beginning of 2019, both GP2 and DTM started to actually have a performance stats system in place. And if I'm not, as you can see on the screen, and in 2020, and it was also used in 2019, the qualifying stats, if you finished in first, you'd get 5 on your stats. Second, 4. Third, 3. Fourth, 2. Fifth, 1. And that was it, really. They went to your quali stats, and in the race, the top 10 got a stats boost, you could say. So first got 10, second 9, third 8, fourth 7, fifth 6, 6th 5, 7th 4, 8th 3, 9th 2, and 10th 1. However, in 2021, as you can see on the right hand side, they are changing. Why are we changing it, Flo?
Well, basically, we are changing those performance points to make them much more significant than before. So we have drivers progressing a lot more and having the championship battles more like a group, like group 1 in the top, group 2 in the middle, and group 3 like in the last few places of the standings. So it will be very interesting to see drivers fighting for wins and podiums at the end of the season much more consistently.
Yes, indeed. And, these new adjusted performance stats you can see on your screen, they are as follows. We have, for qualifying, instead of it being the top 5, it's going to be now the top 6 that are going to get performance boost. So first place will receive 12 instead of 5, second 9, third 6, fourth 4, fifth 2, and sixth 1. And in the race, it's still going to be the top 10, but there's an added bonus to it. So first place will receive 20 instead of 10, second 15, third 12, fourth 10, fifth 8, 6th 6, 7th 4, 8th 3, 9th 2, and 10th 1. And you're also going to get a boost, a 1-point boost, if you get the fastest lap as well. So that's going to be something very interesting as well to look out for in the performances throughout the course of the season. So why have you decided also to add the fastest lap involved to this as well?
So basically, a fastest lap means that the driver has been quick in the race, and if the driver, for example, crashed out or got a problem, it would be unfair to not reward them with a point in the performance. So I decided to give the point for them.
Okay, so there you go then. So an adjusted performance stats system, and hopefully it should be still quite interesting in 2021. So next up is to do with standalone track voting changes. Now, a certain someone may understand why this is happening. I'm not going to say any names. Because that's going to have a bit of a change as well. Well, I say a bit of a change, a quite sizable change as well, because from next season, when it comes to standalone track voting, it will no longer be public. So what we mean by that is that you can no longer vote in the YouTube comment section. It'll instead happen on a Google Forms page, and also mainly Discord DM voting. And I mentioned mainly Discord DM voting because Discord voting will take priority. And as like with previous times, some fantasy tracks will be allowed. So first of all, Flo, why have you decided to move away from public voting?
First of all, I wanted to move away from public voting because other drivers can easily see other choices from the drivers which may impact their own choice. So it makes it more interesting and gives us way more differences in between the other drivers and the grid, so because they can't see.
Okay, and so you've obviously decided to go Discord DM voting and Google Forms. So why is Discord voting taking more priority over the Google Forms page?
Well, basically, Discord is taking priority over Google because it's way more easier to ask in Discord, and there are more people which are using Discord to vote. It's just quite simple. You just need to tell me your tracks in the DMs, and then you're good to go. And in Google, it's a little bit more complicated. You will get a link where you need to enter your email, your driver's name, and the 3 tracks you want to vote.
Indeed. So basically, if you don't want to add your email to it, just join Discord. It's free to enter. It's free to join. Really, there's no charges. Not yet, at least. Anyway, no, I'm joking. There'll never be a charge for Discord.
Yes.
Now, mentioning. So, I also touched on the bell. Some fantasy tracks will be allowed. Now, this has been a thing that's happened in previous standalone track voting, but I think we thought it needed to be reiterating. So, what we mean by some fantasy tracks, we don't mean all. What sort of criteria would a fantasy track need to go through in order to be viable for for Formula 2, I should say?
Well, the track has to make some sense to be used in F2. So, and also there has to be a working track which has graphics around it and also good racing, so that we don't have something like the Nürburgring DTM race happening where like every time there are overtakes into a certain corner, there are crashes, and we just have not good race, how I can put it. Like,
Yes. So I think in terms of what you mean by some fantasy tracks, you mean ones that are basically realistic, so to speak. So you mentioned as well that Morella is a good example of that. I think there's also some tracks on F1 Virtual that people can have a look at as well that I think look realistic as well. So basically that's what we mean by some fantasy tracks. So I guess if anybody wants to know what fantasy tracks are out there on GP4, I guess we could just, leave a link to the spreadsheet, really, that sometimes a lot of us use to try and find certain tracks, cars, etc., really. So that's all we have there for standalone voting. Now, the last thing I think we need to talk about with GP2, I do believe this is the last thing, is helmets. Because I think a lot of people have noticed ever since Flo took over the series, people have not been allowed to have their own helmet. I think that's mainly because it's something that Flo has had to try and get to learn, basically. Well, we're now at a stage where Flo has been able to learn it, and it now means you can now request your own helmets again for Formula 2. So no more standard helmets, I guess, Flo.
yeah, I'm really happy that I can announce this because it's something the drivers can add to have their own personal driver helmet in the series. It will be really nice to see the other helmets on the cars, and also because we don't have a halo which hides them.
Yeah, that also is a big help as well. Now a lot of people may have realised, but the sign-ups have closed. We can't put our helmets down there. Well, we have thought about that. It's basically an extra option if you want a helmet, of course. If you don't decide to want a custom helmet, I'm pretty sure Flo can just put a standard helmet in anyway. But basically, if you want a custom helmet, you can inform Flo on either Discord or even on Google Forms. Now, how's the Google Forms going to work, Flo?
So basically, in the same link I will use for the track voting in Google, I will also have an optional field where a driver can put his helmet choice in, and then it's good to go.
Okay, so that's all we have for helmets, and that's all we've got for F2. So to summarise, for anybody who's just joined the premiere, GP2 will change its name to F2 after pretty much 5 seasons overdue. A new car from 2021 in the form of the name that I'm not going to even attempt because it's a bit of a tongue twister. The performance stats system has been adjusted. Track voting no longer public. It will instead be done on Discord and on a Google form sheet. And you can, once again, you can finally choose your own helmet again for the first time since the 2014 GP2 season. So that's that then. So that's F2 done with. So now let's talk about DTM. Now, we're only going to briefly talk about this because there's not really much to talk about with DTM other than potential future changes that could happen. So what I've done is I've just taken one slide and just put a few bullet points in. So first of all, we need to talk about an overview of upcoming changes. So first of all, for anybody who is somehow not aware, DTM is no longer tier 3, and this is due to the tiering revamp, whereas every tier is now pretty much equal. Formula 2 is still going to be the feeder series to the top class, but it's going to be basically equal with DTM, FE, and World Champ Car. Not one of them has got an advantage like we have in the past, where we're currently on a tiering system. Because from next season, as mentioned, there's no tiering system. It's all going to be basically equal. So DTM, FE, and World Champ Car is basically an optional career path for anybody who doesn't want to be in the top class. That doesn't mean to say anybody who's in those series can't be in the top class in the future. It's just giving you basically an option. But we must mention as well, because it's only a recent new rule, so basically for future sign-ups, you will need to state which is your preferred series in future sign-ups. So we have asked people to do this already, but in future, guys, before you put a sign-up in on either F2, DTM, FE, or the World Champ Car Series, put above it, in case I don't go in such and such, because that can let us know what your preferred series is, so to speak. So just remember to do that. And finally, future changes for DTM. I'm going to let Flo explain these upcoming changes that could happen for GTM in the future. So take it away, Flo.
So basically, what I want to do is for DTM is to turn it into a GT series, which would also have races in Asia, for example, Japan or Bahrain, Malaysia, and also have more manufacturers in the series, which I'm working on. Like, for example, Honda, Lamborghini, Toyota joining the grid. And I think it will be really nice to have some more variety in DTM and see how the teams will do compared to the German ones.
Indeed so, because I think in real life there was supposed to be a crossover between DTM and Super GT, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and that's what I'm pursuing in the fantasy era, which is upcoming, but it will take a little bit. I will update you guys on when these changes will actually come into effect.
Yes, so because for clarity, next season's DTM there won't be any changes. There won't be any new manufacturers. It'll be the same teams and cars as it was for this season, but in the future you may expect that at some point. But we'll wait and see when that happens. As Flo said, he will update when those changes are in full effect. And that's basically it then, really. So, pretty much some very exciting stuff coming up for F2 and DTM, and of course the whole of GP4OC. Are you looking forward to it, Flo?
Yes, I'm really looking forward to it. The new tiering revamp, I think that's the biggest announcement we have made in like the OC history, I would assume. And it will really change up quite a lot. And it will be very interesting to see how the drivers will will be in their series they choose.
I personally cannot wait either. I'm a little bit jealous I can't host at the moment because of the issues I've got with my computer. But I'm happy that you and Yuri get a chance to experience what it's going to be like in the fantasy era. But that has been it then, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. And yeah, that's pretty much both Tiering Revamp videos done with. So thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Florian. And we will see you, well, next time, I guess. See you around.
Bye.